Batman! Where is he? Speak to me! Batman 497, Bane breaks the bat. Stay tuned. Hit the music.
Boo! You suck!
Batman 497. Let's go ahead and get into the story, guys. So the lead up to the story, ironically, because I just said let's get into the story. Essentially, Bane. I don't really feel like we understand it's Bane in the beginning. I feel like the way this book reads, it's the big reveal in 497. But leading up to 497. Several of Batman's villains and loads of street criminals, street thugs, are just overtaking the city, and it's all Batman can do to skip sleep, to skip the injuries he's receiving, in the fight against crime. And Batman's exhausted. He's receiving concussions. He's skipping sleep. He's not taking time off to recuperate. And I've listened to an audio drama of Nightfall, so I am halfway familiar with this story. And my favorite movie of all time, hot take, I know, The Dark Knight Rises. A lot of that is taken from the Nightfall story. And so essentially, Batman's exhausted by the time we get to 497 in the fight against crime. I believe there's also... I believe Barbara Gordon getting shot and paralyzed happens in this storyline when she becomes the Oracle. I could be wrong, but I believe that's part of Nightfall. Could be wrong though. No, that's Killing. Is it Killing Joke? The Alan Moore story. I think that is where. Okay, so I'm getting my timelines wrong. That is not Nightfall. Essentially. Yeah, Batman's exhausted from his fight against crime. We'll get to 497, and it reads like the big reveal that has been Bane the whole time happens in this issue. And in the first page, we're in Bruce Wayne's manor, the mansion, and Bane's there. Surprise, surprise. And Bane knows exactly who Bruce Wayne is. And they share some dialogue. Bruce Wayne's wondering how he knew that Bane knew it was Bruce Wayne. And Bane pretty much says he knew the whole time. He knew it in his dreams. He knew it referencing, if you've seen The Dark Knight Rises, referencing the prison he was sent to as a kid. I don't know if that's actually true to the source material, if that's where he came from in the comic books. But the way it reads, and this being the only issue I've ever read of Bane in it, only issue I've ever read of Nightfall, Bane talks about the dark hole he came from. So to me, and what I know about this story and different takes on it, it reads like he's talking about the prison that is shown in Dark Knight Rises. And they share some dialogue here. Alfred's laid out on the floor. I immediately thought at first reaction that Alfred might be dead. Not Alfred, and Bruce Wayne is questioning how willing Bane is to kill. And it's kind of a corny moment because Bane's willing to kill, right? But there's a really almost poetic line of dialogue here that Doug Munch writes. It's really, really good writing. Bane says he would kill just to darken the light in the eyes of someone that would gaze upon him. That is pretty sinister and great writing right there. I have to give Doug Munch credit for that line here. And while the book reads blazingly fast, I think it's very appropriate because you know what you're signing up for when you're reading 497, unless you're a brand new, to the hobby reader. Most of us, even if, like me, you've never read 497, you know what's in 497. So yeah, it's going to be fast-paced. It's a lot like Death of Superman in that manner. There's not panel after panel after panel. There's I won't say splash pages, but the panels are really big, less dialogue, more action, very action-packed story. And Bane's just essentially beating the crap out of Batman in the Batcave, beating the snot out of him. And we're getting flashback cutscenes of all the fights he's had leading up to 497, and Batman talking about all the concussions, the sleepless nights. There's a gut-wrenching moment where he crashes into the display case featuring Jason Todd's suit, and he picks up the mask and says Jason, realizing his failure with Jason Todd. I think before they enter the Batcave, Alfred kind of wakes up out of his subconscious, so he's not dead. Initially thought he was dead, but he wasn't. I think Bruce Wayne gets him out of harm's way, and then Alfred, there's a side piece to the story in this issue where Alfred goes to Tim Drake, the current Robin at the time, to get John Paul Valley. And that's really all we see of that part of the story, is Alfred sounding the alarm to Tim Drake, let's go get John Paul Valley. And we won't discuss that. That's another video for another time. I own Batman 500, so maybe in the future I'll read Batman 500. But back to the story. Yeah, just Batman getting the crap beat out of him. It's all he can do to like swing at Bane. And then at the end, we get Bane breaking Batman. And I'll put the splash page you all know and love if you've read the story up here. I'm sure it won't be hard to find on the internet, so I can post it. Again, there's not too much here, and which is fine. It's definitely supposed, these critical key issues tend to be more about a specific scene, a specific moment, than a stretched out story. And I think the way it reads and what I know about this story, I think it's perfect. Just a whole issue, pretty much just leading into the final moments, and then actually seeing Bane breaking Batman. I believe it's the last page of the book. Very good climax. Leaves you on a cliffhanger. You don't really know what's next, and you really got to wait a whole freaking month for the next issue or whenever Detective Comics comes out. I don't know what all ties into this story, but I know it's at least Detective Comics and Batman running through Nightfall and Night Quest. I believe it's a 3-part story, much like Death of Superman. You get Death of Superman, Funeral for a Friend, and then Reign of the Superman. I believe those are the 3 arcs in Death of Superman, and I covered Superman 75. And I think that story best reads. I think that issue best reads in the whole entire arc to get the full emotional impact of the story. And I think 497, there's some nods back to older stories with Jason Todd. If you hadn't read the Death in the Family, that impact isn't going to hit you. So I think you could read 497 like I did by itself and get some kind of emotional appreciation out of it, an emotional response from it. But if to read the story in its entirety, you got to read. I would read Death in the Family, and then I would read, the rest of the Nightfall series, and then I would read Azrael, Sword of the Bat. Get familiar with Azrael and John Paul Valley, because that's coming in 498, 499, and 500, somewhere in there between 498 and 500. We're getting Azrael Bat. My favorite version of Batman, and if Azrael was Batman again, I'd probably read Batman again. I really like Azrael as Batman. So I've read the 3 big character defining moments in the 90s that DC put out. You know, the breaking of the bat, Hal Jordan turning into Parallax, Superman dying. Of the three, I'd have to rank this between Superman 75 and Emerald Twilight. I think Emerald Twilight, to be fair, it's a 3-issue arc, and I read the whole arc, so I got the full gravity, the full story of the situation, and I didn't have any background previous to Green Lantern 48, but it still hit me. The destruction of Coast City really hit me, even though I had no background of that story. Whereas Superman 75 is just kind of clear cut and dry. It's just kind of doomsday, screwing stuff up. Superman's going to save the day, and it goes terribly wrong. So there's not a lot of emotional build up into Superman 75. A lot of the emotional impact of Superman 75 happens after Superman 75. It's more about the fallout of the death of Superman and not really the lead in to Superman 75. So to be fair, that's why Superman sits third on my list. And then here 497, you can kind of Batman's so huge, and there's so much material out there about Nightfall and Batman being broken that more than likely you're going to have some kind of background information about what you're getting into in 497 anyways. And so I think you know, you could read it by itself and get, again, that emotional impact, you know, from the story. And then kind of the way it reads, it's not necessarily a beginning, middle, and end type of story. It's kind of just one scene, but just kind of the way it starts and the way it ends, it definitely can be read by itself. And that's why I think I would place this higher on the list than Superman 75, but lower on the list than, let's say, Green Lantern 50, I believe, is where Hal Jordan turns into Parallax. That's his character-defining moment. So yeah, that'll do me, guys. Batman 497, final thoughts and opinions. Again, not the greatest story of all time, not the greatest single issue of all time. I appreciate it. I read it. I have a newfound appreciation for Bane. Now he is more intelligent, like he is in The Dark Knight Rises, not like he is in the Joe Schumacher film. I always wondered which side Bane laid in terms of intelligence. Is he the stupid lucha wrestler, or is he the smart, equally smart as he is strong character? And I'm leaning towards the Tom Hardy take is a little more accurate, a little more, what do I say? A little more accurate, I guess, to the portrayal, in his portrayal of Bane to the comics. I have a newfound respect for Doug Munch. I don't know if I've ever read a Doug Munch issue, unless he wrote Lobo versus the Mask. I think Doug Munch maybe wrote that. I could be wrong, but I don't think I have a lot of Doug Munch material in my collection. So I really like his writing. The way he was able to grab me with his words in such a fast-paced book, I think shows how talented he is, and that's not easy to do in a book that reads that fast. He's not using a lot of words, but what he is using, it just weighs heavily on you and on the story. So kudos to Doug Munch. I mean, easy to see why he's a legend in the industry. That'll do it for me, guys. Again, signing off again. Thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting as always, and until next time, guys.